The blood wouldn't stop. I pressed both hands against the kid's abdomen, my scrubs already soaked through. 19 years old. Gunshot wound to the stomach. He'd been caught in crossfire outside a convenience store, wrong place, wrong time. Stay with me, Marcus, I said, keeping my voice steady even as his eyes rolled back. You're going to be fine. I'd been a trauma nurse at St. Catherine's for 5 years. I'd seen worse. I'd saved worse. I need more gauze, I called over my shoulder to Jenny, one of the newer nurses. And page Dr. Morrison again. Marcus grabbed my wrist, his grip surprisingly strong. Am I gonna die? Not on my watch. It was 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday. The ER was quieter than usual, just Marcus, an elderly woman with chest pains in Bay 3, and a drunk driver sleeping off his stupidity in Bay 5. Seattle's rain tapped against the windows like it was trying to get in. I didn't hear them enter. One moment I was adjusting Marcus's foreline. The next, Jenny screamed. I turned. 3 men stood in the ER entrance. Black tactical gear. Guns drawn. The lead man was tall, built like he lived in a gym, with a spider web tattoo crawling up his neck. Everyone on the ground, he said. Russian accent. Thick. Jenny dropped immediately, her hands shaking as she lay face down on the linoleum. The security guard, Paul, a sweet guy 3 weeks from retirement, reached for his weapon. They shot him in the leg. Paul went down screaming. The elderly woman in Bay 3 started crying, her heart monitor going wild. The patient in Bay 1, Spider Webb said, walking toward me. We're taking him. He meant Marcus. I moved between them and the gurney, my heart hammering against my ribs. He's critical. If you move him, he dies. Not our problem. It's my problem. I didn't move. Couldn't move. Everything I'd become, everything I'd fought to be, came down to moments like this. I wasn't leaving a patient. Not ever. Spider Webb studied me. His eyes were flat, professional. This wasn't personal for him. Just business. Step aside, nurse. No. He raised his gun. Time slowed in that strange way it does when you know something terrible is about to happen. I thought about calling Jin-Woo. I thought about our last conversation 3 weeks ago, his voice crackling over the phone from Seoul. I'll be home soon, he'd said. I miss you. I thought about how I never told anyone at work that I was married. The first bullet hit my chest. The impact threw me backward. I'd never been shot before. They don't tell you how it feels like being hit by a truck, like your entire body is on fire and frozen at the same time. I hit the floor. Spider Webb stepped over me. Through blurring vision, I watched him and his men lift Marcus, still unconscious, thank God, and carry him toward the exit. Jenny was sobbing somewhere to my left. Paul was still screaming. The heart monitor for the woman in Bay 3 was going crazy. I tried to breathe. Couldn't. My chest felt wrong, crushed. The second bullet hit before I could process the first. This one caught me higher, near my collarbone. The pain was so sharp it cut through the shock. I gasped, tasted copper. Blood pooled beneath me, warm and spreading. The ceiling tiles above had water stains shaped like clouds. I'd stared at them 1,000 times during slow shifts, never thinking I'd die looking at them. Jin-Woo, I whispered. The word came out as barely a breath. I don't know why I said his name. Maybe because he was the last person I wanted to see. Maybe because some part of me knew he could fix this, even though he was 8,000 miles away. Maybe because I loved him, even though I'd spent 3 years pretending our marriage was normal. Footsteps thundered toward me. Dr. Morrison's face appeared above mine, his eyes wide with horror. Maya. Jesus Christ, Jenny, get a gurney. Someone call a code. He was pressing his hands against my chest, but I could barely feel it. Everything was getting distant, like I was sinking underwater. Gunshot wounds, 2 to the chest, Morrison was saying, his voice coming from very far away. Entrance wounds, possible lung collapse, Maya, stay with me. But I was so tired. They lifted me onto a gurney. The ceiling tiles passed overhead, one after another. The fluorescent lights were too bright. Someone was cutting off my scrubs. I wanted to tell them these were my favorite pair, the navy blue ones with the little pockets, but my mouth wouldn't work. We crashed through double doors into the OR. I'd been in this room hundreds of times, handing instruments to surgeons, monitoring vitals. Never thought I'd be on the table. She's crashing, someone said. Get me O negative, now. BP's dropping, 60/40. Maya, if you can hear me, squeeze my hand. I couldn't. My hands were numb. Everything was numb. Faces swam above me. Morrison. Tessa from cardiology. Someone else I didn't recognize. They were all moving so fast, speaking in the clipped language of emergency medicine that I knew by heart. Charging paddles. Clear. My body jerked. Once. Twice. The heart monitor's beep was getting slower. Farther apart. I thought about Jin-Woo again. Wondered if he'd feel it, somehow, when I died. If whatever connected us, that strange pull I'd felt since the moment we met, would snap like a cut wire. I thought about our wedding. City Hall in Seoul, just us and 2 witnesses. He'd worn a black suit. I'd worn a white dress I'd bought the day before. Afterward, we'd gotten noodles from a street vendor and eaten them sitting on the curb, my dress getting dirty and neither of us caring. I'll keep you safe, he'd promised me that night, holding my face in his hands. Always. The heart monitor flatlined. One long, endless tone. Time of death. My phone rang. It was in my locker, but I heard it anyway. That specific ringtone I'd set just for him, a song he'd played for me once in his car, something Korean I didn't know the name of but that made him smile. It rang. And rang. And rang. Whose phone is that? Someone asked. Maya's, I think, Jenny's voice, shaky and tear-stained. It says, husband. Maya was married? Since when? The phone kept ringing as Morrison called my time of death. As they covered my body with a sheet. As Jenny stood there staring at the locker, confusion and grief warring on her face. Nobody knew I had a husband. Nobody knew his name. Nobody knew that Jin-Woo Park, the man calling me desperately from Seoul at 2:58 a.m. Seattle time, was the most dangerous person in Korea. And nobody knew that dying was the least complicated thing that would happen to me tonight. If you are enjoying this video, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 2. I woke up breathing. That was the first shock, my lungs expanding, contracting, pulling in air like they hadn't forgotten how. Like I hadn't died on an operating table 2 hours ago. The second shock was the room. This wasn't St. Catherine's. The ceiling was pristine white, no water stains. The walls were a soft gray. Everything smelled like money and antiseptic. Medical equipment beeped steadily beside me, but it was top-of-the-line stuff, the kind we didn't even have in our ICU. I tried to sit up. Pain lanced through my chest, but it was dull, manageable. Wrong. I should be in agony. I should be dead. My hands found the bandages wrapped around my torso. Clean, professional, changed recently. I could feel the wounds beneath, 2 entry points, one near my collarbone, one lower, but they felt smaller. Closed. You shouldn't move yet. I jerked toward the voice, immediately regretting it as my ribs protested. A man sat in the corner of the room. Mid-30s, Korean, expensive suit. His face was expressionless, but his eyes were sharp. Calculating. He'd been watching me sleep. 2 more men stood by the door. Black suits. Earpieces. Guns visible under their jackets. Not hospital security. Where am I? My voice came out rough, like I'd been screaming. Somewhere safe. The man in the corner stood, moving with the controlled grace of someone who knew how to hurt people. My name is Taemin. I work for your husband. My heart stuttered. Jin-Woo sent you? He's on his way. His flight lands in 3 hours. 3 hours. Jin-Woo was coming here. To Seattle. He never came to Seattle, too dangerous, too exposed. Our arrangement had always been careful. Calculated. I lived my life as Maya Chen, trauma nurse. He lived his as Jin-Woo Park, whatever legitimate business front he was running that month. We met in neutral cities when we could. Seoul, sometimes. Tokyo. Once, memorably, in Prague. Never Seattle. What happened? I asked. At the hospital. You were shot twice. You died. Taemin said it matter-of-factly, like he was discussing the weather. The doctors at St. Catherine's pronounced you at 2:58 a.m. We extracted you at 3:14 a.m. Extracted? Removed you from the morgue before anyone could ask questions. The morgue. Jesus Christ. I'd been in the morgue. You should be dead, Taemin continued. The bullets perforated your left lung, nicked your subclavian artery. Blood loss alone should have killed you. But you're healing. I looked down at my bandaged chest. How fast? Faster than should be possible. By tomorrow, the wounds will be closed completely. In 3 days, there won't even be scars. That wasn't human. That wasn't normal. What did you do to me? Something flickered across Taemin's face. Not quite sympathy, but close. Jin-Woo will explain everything when he arrives. For now, you need to rest. I don't want to rest. I want answers. I swung my legs over the side of the bed, ignoring the protests from my body. Who were those men? The ones who shot me? Taemin hesitated. Then, as if deciding I'd find out anyway, he said, Volkov Bratva. Russian Mafia. They've been expanding into Seattle for the past 6 months, drugs, weapons, human trafficking. They wanted the patient you were treating. Marcus. God, Marcus. Is he alive? No. They killed him once they extracted what they needed, information about a rival gang's operations. You were collateral damage. They didn't know who you were. I processed that. Random violence. Wrong place, wrong time. Except it wasn't random for Marcus. He'd known something, and they'd hunted him to my ER. And now? I asked. Do they know who I am now? Not yet. But they will. Taemin's expression darkened. Which is why you're here, not at home. This facility is off-grid. Secure. Jin-Woo owns it. Of course he did. Jin-Woo owned half of Seattle and I'd never known. That was the thing about being married to him, I only ever saw the parts he wanted me to see. I met him 4 years ago at a medical conference in San Francisco. He'd been charming, funny, relentlessly interested in everything I said. We'd talked for hours in the hotel bar. When he'd asked for my number, I'd given it without hesitation. Our first date was dinner at a waterfront restaurant. Our second was a midnight walk through Golden Gate Park. By the third, I was in love. He'd proposed after 6 months. Married me after 8. I'd known he was wealthy, the cars, the clothes, the easy way he moved through the world. But he'd told me he worked in international trade. Import-export. Boring corporate stuff. I'd believed him because I'd wanted to. The truth came out 6 months after the wedding. I'd flown to Seoul to surprise him, used the key to his apartment he'd given me. I'd walked in on him and 3 men in his living room, discussing a shipment of product coming through Busan. One of the men had a gun on the coffee table. Jin-Woo had looked at me, and I'd seen it then, the coldness beneath the charm. The calculation. He'd sent the men away. Then he'd sat me down and told me everything. The Biko clan. Korea's most feared criminal organization. Jin-Woo wasn't just a member, he was the leader. Had been since his father's death 3 years before we met. Drugs, weapons, extortion, murder. Everything I'd sworn to fight against as a nurse, he orchestrated. I should have left. Should have run. But he'd held my hands and said, I never lied about loving you. That was always real. And I'd believed him. God help me, I'd believed him. Maya. Taemin's voice pulled me back to the present. He was watching me with that calculating expression again. There's something else you need to know. About why you survived. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? 3 years ago, shortly after your wedding, Jin-Woo had you injected with an experimental serum. You thought it was a flu shot during your annual physical. The room tilted. What? It's a biotechnology his organization has been developing. Originally designed for our enforcers, the men who do the clan's dirty work. It enhances healing, increases strength and speed, makes the subject nearly impossible to kill. Nearly impossible to kill. I touched my chest, feeling the wounds that should have ended me. You're saying I'm, what? Enhanced? Yes. Without my consent? Jin-Woo believed it would keep you safe. Given that you're alive right now, he was correct. Rage flooded through me, hot and acidic. He experimented on me? Like I'm some kind of lab rat? He protected you. He violated me. I was on my feet before I realized I'd moved. The men at the door tensed, hands moving toward their weapons. Taemin held up a hand, stopping them. You should save your anger for when Jin-Woo arrives, he said calmly. He'll want to explain himself. There's no explanation for this. The door opened. Jin-Woo walked in. I hadn't seen him in 6 months. He looked the same, beautiful in that sharp, dangerous way that had first caught my attention. Black hair pushed back from his face. Dark eyes. Expensive suit that fit him like a second skin. But something was different. His eyes were cold. Empty. He looked at me like I was a stranger. Like he was seeing me for the first time and finding me wanting. Jin-Woo, I started. You were supposed to stay dead, he said. The words hit me harder than the bullets had. What? He stepped closer, his expression unreadable. Behind him, more men filed into the room. 6. 8. All armed. The serum was never meant to save you, Maya. It was meant to study you. His voice was clinical, detached. You were the experiment. And you've just outlived your usefulness. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 3. The room went silent. I stared at Jin-Woo, waiting for him to smile. To tell me this was some twisted joke. Some test of loyalty. He didn't smile. Sit down, Maya, he said. No. Sit. Down. His voice was flat, commanding. The voice of a man used to being obeyed. I stayed standing. My legs were shaking, but I locked my knees. You said you loved me. I said what I needed to say. He moved to the window, looking out at the Seattle skyline. Dawn was breaking, painting everything gold. You were perfect. Orphaned at 16. No family. No connections. A nurse, so you had medical knowledge but not enough to ask the right questions. And black, visible enough that we could track you anywhere, but isolated enough in your profession that no one would notice small changes. Each word was a knife. The medical conference in San Francisco, I whispered. You were there for me. I was there for a viable test subject. You happened to fit the parameters. I remembered that night. How he'd appeared at the hotel bar where I'd been sitting alone, exhausted from a day of lectures on trauma care. How he'd asked what I was drinking, then ordered the same thing. How natural it had felt when he'd slid onto the stool beside me. The spilled drink, I said, the memory surfacing. You bumped into me. Spilled your whiskey on my jacket. I needed your DNA. Hair, skin cells, saliva if possible. The drink was convenient. He'd apologized profusely, insisted on paying for my dry cleaning. I'd laughed it off, charmed by his concern. We'd talked for 3 hours. He'd made me feel seen in a way no one had since my parents died. It had all been calculated. The questions you asked, I continued, pieces falling into place. About my family. My medical history. Whether I had siblings. Due diligence. We needed someone genetically isolated. Someone whose disappearance wouldn't trigger investigations. I didn't disappear. We got married. A marriage of convenience. For me, anyway. He finally turned to face me. You signed a prenup, remember? One that specified no contact with my business associates. No public acknowledgement of our relationship. No children. No children. God, the number of times I'd cried about that. The number of pregnancy tests I'd taken, each one negative. I'd thought something was wrong with me. Had even suggested we see a fertility specialist. Jin-Woo had always changed the subject. The serum, I said slowly. It made me infertile. A side effect. Acceptable, given the benefits. Benefits. Like I was a product. A thing. What benefits? I demanded. What exactly did you do to me? Taemin stepped forward, pulling out a tablet. He tapped the screen, then held it up. It showed a rotating 3D model of a human body. Except the cellular structure was wrong. Enhanced. Strands of DNA twisted in patterns I'd never seen in any textbook. The serum rewrites your genetic code at the molecular level, Taemin explained. Phase 1, what you received 3 years ago, enhances healing, increases strength and reflexes, improves cognitive function. You've been living with these changes without realizing it. I thought about the times I'd caught falling equipment before it hit the ground. The way I never got the flu even when it tore through the hospital staff. How I could work triple shifts and barely feel tired. I'd thought I was just resilient. Phase 2, Taemin continued, completes the transformation. It turns the subject into a biological weapon. Enhanced aggression, complete pain tolerance, and most importantly, mental conditioning that makes you loyal only to Jin-Woo. A weapon. He'd turned me into a weapon. We've been monitoring you remotely since the injection, Jin-Woo said. Heart rate, blood pressure, hormonal levels, sleep patterns. Every moment of your life, we've been watching. I felt violated in a way I couldn't articulate. Every private moment, every shower, every night I'd cried myself to sleep missing him, they'd been watching. The other subjects, I said. Taemin mentioned you needed me alive. Why? Jin-Woo and Taemin exchanged a look. Show her, Jin-Woo said. Taemin tapped the tablet again. The screen split into 12 squares. 12 women's faces. All nurses. All different ethnicities, Asian, Latina, white, Middle Eastern. All around my age. All dead. Test subjects 1 through 12, Taemin said quietly. The serum killed them. Some within hours. Others lasted months. You're subject 13. The only survivor. I stared at their faces. They looked like me, tired eyes, kind smiles. Women who'd probably gone into nursing because they wanted to help people. Jin-Woo had killed them. How? I whispered. Organ failure, mostly. Brain hemorrhaging. One threw herself off a building, the psychological effects were too severe. Taemin swiped through autopsy photos. You survived because your genetic makeup is compatible with the serum in ways we didn't predict. We need you alive to understand why. To perfect the formula. Perfect it. So they could do this to more people. I looked at Jin-Woo. Really looked at him. Tried to find the man I'd married. The man who'd held me during thunderstorms because I'd admitted I was afraid of lightning. Who'd learned to make my favorite breakfast. Who'd called me every night when he was traveling, just to hear my voice. That man had never existed. You're a monster, I said. I'm a businessman. This is just business. Something inside me snapped. I moved without thinking. One moment I was standing by the bed. The next I was across the room, my hand around Jin-Woo's throat. The speed shocked me. Shocked everyone. The guards raised their weapons, but Jin-Woo held up a hand, stopping them. Even with my fingers digging into his windpipe, he looked calm. There it is, he said, his voice strained but satisfied. The enhancement. I could feel it now, the strength in my hands. I could crush his throat. Kill him. It would be so easy. Do it, Jin-Woo rasped. Give in to it. I released him, stumbling backward. My hands were shaking. I'm not your weapon. You already are. You just don't know it yet. I ran. The enhanced speed kicked in instinctively. I was through the door before the guards could react, racing down a hallway that blurred past me. Doors, corners, more guards shouting. I'd never moved this fast. Never felt this strong. I crashed through an emergency exit, setting off alarms. Found myself in a stairwell. Took the stairs 4 at a time, my body moving with inhuman grace. 6 floors down. I could hear them behind me, boots on concrete, radios crackling. The ground floor. I burst through another door into a parking garage. Mercedes, BMWs, blacked-out SUVs. All expensive. All Jin-Woo's. I spotted an exit ramp and sprinted toward it. A guard stepped out, blocking my path. I didn't slow down. Hit him full force, sending him flying into a concrete pillar. He crumpled. I'd done that. Me. 3 more guards appeared. I fought them without thinking, my body knowing moves I'd never learned. Blocks, strikes, joint locks. They went down one by one. But there were too many. They swarmed me. 6, 8, 10. Even with my enhanced strength, the numbers were overwhelming. Someone hit me with a taser. The electricity should have dropped me instantly. It didn't. I fought for another 30 seconds before they finally wrestled me to the ground. Zip ties around my wrists. A black hood over my head. Secure her, someone ordered. Taemin's voice. They dragged me back toward the building. My enhanced hearing picked up everything, their elevated heart rates, the scratch of fabric against skin, and farther away, Jin-Woo's voice on the phone. The Volkov shooting was perfect, he was saying. Now that she knows the truth, her emotional state will accelerate the transformation. Anger, betrayal, exactly what we need to push her system into overdrive. Phase 2 begins tonight. The Volkov shooting. He'd arranged it. The Russians who'd stormed my ER, who'd shot me, Jin-Woo had sent them. He'd orchestrated my death to trigger this. The hood muffled my scream. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 4. The surgical table was cold against my back. Leather restraints bit into my wrists and ankles. Above me, surgical lights blazed, too bright. A heart monitor beeped steadily, my heart, still beating despite everything. 3 scientists in white coats moved around me with clinical efficiency. One adjusted in 4-line. Another prepared a syringe filled with something that glowed faintly blue. Phase 2. Jin-Woo stood in the corner, watching. He'd changed into surgical scrubs, like he was about to perform the procedure himself. Maybe he was. Maybe he wanted to be the one to finish what he'd started 4 years ago. Your vitals are accelerating nicely, one of the scientists said, checking a monitor. The stress response is perfect. Cortisol levels at exactly where we need them. Begin the injection, Jin-Woo ordered. The scientist with the blue syringe approached. I thrashed against the restraints, but they held firm. Please, I said, hating the desperation in my voice. Don't do this. Jin-Woo's expression didn't change. You'll thank me eventually. Once the conditioning takes effect, you won't remember wanting anything else. The needle pierced my skin. Then the world exploded. Alarms shrieked through the facility. Red emergency lights strobed. The scientists froze, looking at each other in confusion. What's happening? Jin-Woo demanded. Taemin burst through the door, gun drawn. We're under attack. Volkov Bratva. 12 men, heavily armed. They've breached the perimeter. How did they find us? Unknown. But they're heading this way. We need to evacuate you now. Gunfire erupted somewhere below us. Closer than it should have been. The building shook. Jin-Woo cursed in Korean. Secure the serum samples. All of them. And her. He pointed at me. We're not leaving without her. Sir, there's no time. I said secure her. More gunfire. Screaming. The scientists scattered, grabbing equipment, files, anything they could carry. Jin-Woo followed them toward a back exit, barking orders into his phone. Only Taemin stayed. He moved to my side, his hands going to the restraints on my right wrist. What are you doing? I gasped. Saving you. He unbuckled the leather, moved to my left wrist. I can't let him do this. Not again. Again? His hands were shaking as he freed my ankles. Subject 7. Her name was Min Seo. She was a nurse too. From Busan. Jin-Woo recruited her the same way he recruited you, false promises, manufactured love. I sat up slowly, my head spinning. You knew her. I loved her. Taemin's voice cracked. I tried to warn her. Tried to get her to run. But she trusted Jin-Woo. Believed he would protect her. The serum killed her in 3 days. Organ failure. She died screaming. I could see it in his eyes, the guilt, the rage. He'd watched someone he loved die because of Jin-Woo's experiments. I've been working against him since then, Taemin continued. Sabotaging where I can. Feeding information to his enemies. I'm the one who told the Volkov Bratva about this facility. They want the serum. They'll tear this place apart to get it. You brought them here? I brought them here to give you a chance to escape. He pressed a key card into my hand. 3rd floor, East Wing. There's a service exit. Go. Now. I slid off the table. My legs nearly gave out, but I steadied myself against the edge. Come with me. I can't. If I run, Jin-Woo will know I betrayed him. He'll kill my family and soul. My mother, my sister. I have to stay. An explosion rocked the building. Closer. Much closer. I turned to run. Then my body betrayed me. Pain exploded through my chest, not from the gunshot wounds, but from deeper. Cellular. The heart monitor I was still connected to went haywire. I collapsed. Maya. Taemin caught me before I hit the floor. Blood poured from my nose. My eyes. I could taste it in my mouth, copper and thick. What's happening? I choked out. Taemin's face went white. The serum. Phase 1 is breaking down. Your body's rejecting it. Why now? Stress. Trauma. The injection they started, it triggered a cascade failure. He lowered me back onto the table, his hands frantically checking my vitals. You're dying, Maya. Without phase 2, the serum will kill you in minutes. I could feel it. The wrongness spreading through my veins like ice. My enhanced healing was reversing, my body attacking itself. Then I die, I gasped. Better than being his weapon. There has to be another way. There isn't. Blood bubbled from my lips. Let me go, Taemin. Let me die free. He stared at me, anguish written across his face. Then he reached for something in his pocket. The blue syringe. The one the scientist had dropped. No, I whispered. It's the only way to save you. I don't want to be saved. Not like this. Min Seo didn't get a choice. She died begging for one more day. One more hour. Tears streaked down his face. I won't watch someone else die when I can prevent it. The conditioning. We'll find a way to break it. I swear. But you have to live first. More gunfire. Someone screamed. The Volkov Bratva was getting closer. My vision was fading. The pain was everywhere now, like my body was tearing itself apart from the inside. Die free or live as a slave. Some choice. Maya. Taemin's voice was desperate. Please. I thought about the 12 women on that tablet. All dead. All victims of Jin-Woo's ambition. If I died, he'd just find another subject. Another nurse. Another orphan with no one to miss her. But if I lived. Do it, I whispered. Taemin didn't hesitate. The needle slid into my vein. He pressed the plunger. The serum hit my bloodstream like liquid fire. I screamed. My back arched off the table. Every nerve ending ignited. The pain from the rejection was nothing compared to this. This was transformation. Rebirth. My DNA unraveling and rewriting itself. There's something else, Taemin said, his voice cutting through my agony. Something you need to know. I couldn't respond. Couldn't breathe. The hospital shooting. Jin-Woo didn't arrange it. What? Your friend Rebecca. The nurse you work with. She's been on Jin-Woo's payroll for 4 years. She's been watching you, reporting everything. She's the one who called the Volkov Bratva. She told them about the gunshot victim in your ER. She set up the shooting. No. Not Rebecca. Rebecca who'd trained me when I'd first started at St. Catherine's. Rebecca who'd held my hand through my first patient death. Rebecca who I'd told everything to, about Jin-Woo, about the marriage I kept secret, about how lonely I felt. She betrayed me for money. The serum reached my brain. I felt at the moment it happened, the conditioning taking hold. Like a door slamming shut in my mind. My rage toward Jin-Woo began to soften. Redirect. No. No, I had to fight it. I focused on that anger. On Jin-Woo's cold eyes when he'd called me an experiment. On the 12 dead women. On Rebecca's smiling face as she'd stabbed me in the back. The conditioning pushed back, trying to make me forget. Trying to make me love him. I held on to the hate. My last human thought, before the serum took everything. I'll kill them all. Jin-Woo. Rebecca. Every scientist who'd worked on this. Everyone who'd made me a monster. I'd kill them all. Then the transformation completed. Maya Chen, trauma nurse, orphan, experiment, died. And something else opened its eyes. If you are enjoying this video, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 5. 3 weeks later, I walked through St. Catherine's Hospital like I owned it. 3 a.m. The night shift. My shift, once upon a time. Everything looked different now. Sharper. I could see the dust motes floating in the fluorescent light. Smell the disinfectant mixed with fear and exhaustion. Hear every heartbeat of every person on this floor. The serum had made me more than human. But I was still me. That was the part Jin-Woo's scientists hadn't predicted. The conditioning should have erased my free will, turned me into his perfect weapon. Instead, I'd held on to myself through sheer rage. And when the transformation completed, I'd come out the other side still Maya Chen. Just a better version. I passed the ER where I'd died. New nurses worked the station. Jenny had transferred to day's shift after the shooting. Couldn't handle nights anymore. I didn't blame her. The chapel was at the end of the hallway. Small, non-denominational, with rows of wooden pews and stained glass that caught the moonlight. I'd come here sometimes during breaks, when the weight of death got too heavy. Rebecca was kneeling in the front pew. She didn't hear me approach. My footsteps made no sound on the tile floor. Another benefit of the enhancement, complete control over my body. "Hello, Rebecca," I said. She spun around, her face going white. I must have looked different. The serum had refined everything about me, my features sharper, my movements fluid, my eyes probably reflecting the light like a predator's. I was beautiful in a way that wasn't quite human anymore. "Maya," she breathed. "You're alive." Disappointed? She stood, her hands shaking. "I thought they said you died. In the ER. I went to your funeral. Closed casket, I'm guessing." "Yes." Smart. Considering there was no body. I stepped closer. She backed up, hitting the pew behind her. "For years, Rebecca. For years you reported on me. Every conversation. Every private moment. Did you laugh about it? It wasn't like that. What was it like? Help me understand how my best friend sold me out." Tears streamed down her face. "My mother. She has stage 4 pancreatic cancer. The treatments cost hundreds of thousands. I had no insurance, no savings. I was drowning. So you took Jin-Woo's money. He approached me 6 months after you started at St. Catherine's. Offered me $50,000 per report. All I had to do was watch you. Report anything unusual. I needed the money, Maya. I needed it. $50,000 per report. I did the math quickly. 4 years of monthly reports. $2.4 million, I said. That's what my life was worth to you. I didn't know what he was doing. I swear, I thought he was just paranoid. A jealous husband keeping tabs on his wife. And the hospital shooting? Her face crumpled. He called me 2 weeks ago. Said he needed to stage an incident. Something that would put you in danger but not kill you. He promised no one would get hurt. I just had to tell him when we had a gunshot victim admitted. That's all. Marcus died, Rebecca. That 19-year-old kid bled out because you sold him to the Volkov Bratva. I didn't know they'd kill him. Jin-Woo said. Jin-Woo lies. I pulled a syringe from my jacket pocket. The liquid inside glowed faintly blue. Did he ever tell you about the serum? About what he did to me? Rebecca stared at the syringe. What is that? Phase 1. The same thing Jin-Woo injected me with 3 years ago. I moved closer. She tried to run, but I was faster. I grabbed her arm, held her still with inhuman strength. Let's see if you survive the experiment. Maya, please. Your mother's cancer treatments are paid for. Jin-Woo's money is in an offshore account in your name. You'll never have to work again. I pressed the needle against her skin. But you'll spend the rest of your life wondering if this serum will kill you or save you. Just like I did. I injected her. Rebecca screamed. I released her and stepped back, watching as she collapsed to the floor, clutching her arm. The serum takes 3 years to fully integrate, I said calmly. You might survive. You might not. 12 other women didn't. But hey, maybe you'll get lucky. I left her sobbing in the chapel and walked out of St. Catherine's for the last time. Jin-Woo's Seattle headquarters was in a high-rise downtown. 20th floor, corner office with views of the Sound. I walked through the lobby at 4 a.m. The guard saw me coming and stood down immediately, their hands moving away from their weapons. They'd heard about me. About what I'd become. They were smart enough to be terrified. The elevator ride up was silent except for the mechanical hum. I watched my reflection in the polished steel doors. Silver eyes stared back at me, courtesy of the serum. They faded to brown after a few seconds, but the flash was unmistakable. I was different now. Other. But I was done pretending I wasn't. The 20th floor was empty except for 2 guards outside Jin-Woo's office. They didn't try to stop me. Jin-Woo sat behind his desk, reading something on his tablet. He looked up when I entered, unsurprised. "I wondered when you'd come," he said. "You knew I would. You kept your free will. That makes you unpredictable." He set down the tablet. "But not unknowable. You wanted answers. And revenge. I got my revenge. Rebecca's living with the consequences. The serum injection. Creative." He stood, moving around the desk. "You didn't kill her. Killing her would have been mercy." Jin-Woo smiled. Actually smiled. "There's the monster I created. You created nothing. I made myself." "Did you?" He unbuttoned his shirt, pulling it off. His torso was covered in scars, surgical scars, identical to mine. Entry points for injections. "I took the serum 5 years ago, Maya. I was dying. Genetic disease. The doctors gave me 6 months. I stared at the scars. You tested it on yourself. And it saved me. But it wasn't perfect. I needed more data. Human trials. You were subject 13. The one who finally gave me the answers I needed. You used me. I chose you." He stepped closer. "Your genetic markers were compatible with mine in ways I'd never seen. The serum bonded with your DNA perfectly because it was designed for mine. If we'd conceived a child, we couldn't. The serum made me infertile. A temporary side effect. With phase 2 complete, your fertility would return. Our child would have been the next stage of human evolution, Maya. Enhanced from conception. Perfect. I felt sick. You wanted to breed me like livestock. I wanted to give humanity a future." He touched my face. I let him, curious about my own response. I felt nothing. No love, no hate. The conditioning had burned away my feelings for him, leaving only cold clarity. "Join me. Together, we can reshape the world. No more disease. No more weakness. We can make everyone like us. Gods among insects." "Yes." I looked at him. Really looked. He believed it. Believed we were better. Believed this was evolution, not violation. "No," I said. "No. I'm keeping the serum. Keeping my abilities. But I'm going back to St. Catherine's Hospital. I'm going to keep being a nurse. Keep saving lives." I pulled away from his touch. "And if your organization ever threatens innocent people again, I'll dismantle the Biko clan piece by piece. Starting with you." Jin-Woo studied me for a long moment. Then he smiled, genuinely smiled, warmth reaching his eyes for the first time since I'd met him. "That's why you survived, Maya. You're stronger than all of them. Stronger than me, even. I know. If you change your mind. I won't." I left him standing in his office and walked out into the Seattle dawn. My apartment was exactly as I'd left it 3 weeks ago. Coffee mug in the sink. Scrubs thrown over a chair. Mail piled on the counter. I looked at my left hand. The wedding ring was still there. White gold, simple, elegant. I should take it off. Should throw it in the trash or sell it or drop it in the Sound. I didn't. In the bathroom mirror, my eyes flashed silver. The serum coursing through my veins, rewriting what it meant to be human. I wasn't Maya Chen anymore. Not entirely. But I wasn't Jin-Woo's weapon either. I was something new. Something the world had never seen. And I was free. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text message, subject 13 survived. She's asking for you. Taemin. I stared at the message. Subject 13. Another survivor. Another woman who'd endured Jin-Woo's experiment and lived. I wasn't alone. I smiled and typed back, "Where?" The response came immediately, "Seoul. Can you come?" I looked around my apartment. At the life I'd built. The life I'd fought to keep. Then I grabbed my passport and started packing. I had a sister to meet. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more videos like this, do well to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Also drop your thoughts in the comments section and share this video to family and friends. END